The Beast of Jersey is a terrifying icon of fear and malevolence in the annals of criminal history. This enigmatic criminal terrorized the idyllic island of Jersey during the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s with a series of terrifying and meticulous offenses. Despite Jersey's well-known tranquility, defined by scenic beauty and low crime, the Beast's rampage put the island into protracted and unsettling suffering. However, throughout the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, the picturesque island of Jersey served as the setting for a series of mystery assaults directed by an evil entity known as the Beast of Jersey. This culprit spread fear among the island's residents by committing a series of heinous crimes, methodically targeting individuals when they were most vulnerable. During this chaotic period, Jersey, the biggest of the Channel Islands located between England and France, had a population varying from 55,000 to 70,000 people. The island was known for its magnificent views, low crime rates, and world-famous ice cream. But it also carried the wounds of German occupation during World War II. The disturbing attack began in November 1957, when the Beast of Jersey preyed on a nurse who was innocently waiting for her bus. The assailant inflicted severe damage on the victim while disguising himself with a scarf. Attacks in March and July of the following year followed a disturbingly similar pattern, generating fear and anxiety among the island's population. The Beast's method of operation involved the use of a rope, which he knotted menacingly around the victims' necks. The fabled Beast of Jersey, an unknown assailant responsible for a series of horrible killings, refined his evil techniques throughout the turbulent 1960s. In February 1960, when breaking into residences, he targeted a 12-year-old youngster, signaling a troubling shift in his mode of operation. As the Beast's attacks continued, a 43-year-old lady and her 14-year-old daughter were attacked in their own house. During the 1960s, the Beast of Jersey escalated his reign of terror amid unsolved cases and rising anxieties. As the assailant began breaking into victims' houses, a pattern emerged, resulting in a series of attacks from July 1960 to April 1961. The Beast's new concentration on youngsters aged 8 to 12 sent shockwaves across the neighborhood, paralyzing inhabitants with terror. Faced with this frightening rise, Jersey's concerned residents took matters into their own hands. Neighborhood watches were organized in a desperate attempt to offer some sense of security, revealing the island's level of concern. Concurrently, understanding the gravity of the problem, local law enforcement requested aid from the famed Scotland Yard, recognizing the need for outside experience to tackle the mounting menace. In a disturbing revival of violence in 1971, the Beast attacked again, this time a 15-year-old girl. The terror of the attack was heightened by the assailant's unsettling warnings. The Beast's malignant intentions to continue his spree were hinted at in a letter delivered to the police in 1966, and regrettably, these forewarnings proved correct as the assaults continued well into the 1970s. This phase in the island's history was defined by a community contending with an elusive and terrible entity. The Beast of Jersey's ability to elude punishment, along with his audacity, established a profound feeling of horror on the island for years to come. The pivotal moment in this terrible story happened in 1971 when two alert police officers chased a speeding automobile, culminating in the capture of the elusive Beast. The apprehended guy, Edward Paisnel, matched the description of the infamous assailant and was found with incriminating evidence, including a terrifying mask. Edward Paisnel, a married 46-year-old man, faced trial in 1971, and distressing aspects of his past were revealed. His prosecution revealed an esoteric fascination, the precise preparation of his horrible crimes, and the existence of a secret chamber packed with terrifying paraphernalia. Despite being convicted on 13 charges, there were still concerns that there were other victims who never came forward. Following Edward's incarceration, his wife Joan wrote a book in which she claimed ignorance of his crimes. However, mistrust surrounded her claim, and questions remained concerning her lack of knowledge of the Beast's actions. Alphonse, whose home had been burned down due to suspicions of his participation, spent 14 years in exile before returning to Jersey. Edward Paisnel was freed from jail in 1991 after serving 20 years of his 30-year imprisonment in an unexpected change of events. He endured hatred from Jersey locals and decided to live on the Isle of Wight until he died in 1994, despite being considered a model prisoner. A following inquiry discovered suspected crimes at a children's home managed by Joan Parnell, adding to the Beast of Jersey's disturbing reputation. Despite the Beast's fear, his departure from jail marked a troubling chapter in this sad story. The case is a horrifying illustration of unsolved atrocities, the lasting impact on victims, and the significant ramifications for the towns that survived the Beast of Jersey's reign of terror. Furthermore, Paisnel began targeting youngsters solely at this time, breaching a 14-year-old's bedroom in April. When she awakened, he was watching her from the shadows, but she shouted so loudly that he ran away. Meanwhile, in July, an 8-year-old child was dragged from his bed and raped in a field, only for Paisnel to escort the youngster back home. After a lengthy period, law enforcement eventually made a critical step by interviewing all people with criminal histories. A renowned fisherman called Alphonse Legastellouis became a main suspect among the 13 people who declined to furnish fingerprints, including Edward Paisnel. The evidence against him, however, was scant, based primarily on his reputation as a known oddball. When Legastellouis's photograph was extensively circulated in newspapers, it sparked a vigilante response that culminated in the burning down of his house. Faced with the community's wrath, Legastellouis elected to leave the island forever. Tragically, this development coincided with the Beast of Jersey's resumption of assaults, which resulted in 3 more children being killed by the mask-wearing psychopath by April 1961. Meanwhile, Edward Paisnel continued to elude capture, even working at community houses where he had access to youngsters. Surprisingly, he and his wife took up several of the kids, and Paisnel was later accused of abusing both the workers and the orphans he intended to save. Despite these troubling behaviors, none of them were reported at the time. In a major move, Scotland Yard collaborated with local police to establish a profile of the elusive culprit. The assailant, who was thought to be between the ages of 40 and 45, stood 5 feet and 6 inches tall and had a distinct odor. During his attacks, which usually took place between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., he donned a mask or a scarf. His method of operation involved breaking into residences through bedroom windows and navigating the gloomy areas with a flashlight. Surprisingly, the Beast of Jersey vanished following this rigorous inspection and the discovery of a likely culprit. The reprieve, however, was brief, as the offender made a terrifying comeback in 1963. This unpredictable pattern complicated officials' efforts to arrest the elusive perpetrator, who continued to strike terror and anguish into the hearts of the population. With that, let's move on to the burning question. Was Edward Paisnel apprehended? The Beast of Jersey reappeared after a 2-year hiatus. He assaulted and sodomized 4 children and boys he kidnapped from their bedrooms between April and November 1963. While he was missing for another 2 years, a letter mocking authorities emerged at the Jersey police station in 1966. It scolded detectives for their ineptness while boasting that the author had perpetrated the ideal crime. It further said that this was insufficient and that 2 more people would be harmed. A 15-year-old girl was abducted from her home, abused and scratched that August. An identical occurrence happened in August 1970 to a 14-year-old kid, and the youngster informed authorities the assailant wore a mask. Fortunately, the Beast of Jersey mask would never be worn again since Paisnel, 46, was arrested on July 10, 1971, for running a red light in a stolen automobile in the St. Helier neighborhood. Inside, police discovered a black wig, cables, tape, and a scary mask. Paisnel was dressed in a raincoat with nails attached to the cuffs and shoulders, and he carried a torch. He said he was on his way to an orgy, but was instead arrested. A check of his house revealed a hidden chamber filled with images of nearby houses, a sword, and an altar covered with books on the occult and black magic. The trial of Paisnel began on November 29th. The jury found him guilty after only 38 minutes of deliberation. He was sentenced to 30 years in jail after being convicted of 13 charges of sexual assault and sodomy against 6 of his victims. Surprisingly, Edward Paisnel was discharged for good behavior in 1991 but died 3 years later of a heart attack. Evidence of his atrocities at numerous children's homes continues to emerge to this day. Think about the terrifying legacy of the Beast of Jersey. What other unsolved mysteries from criminal history intrigue your interest? That's it for now. Well, see you in the next video. Until then, please like and subscribe to our channel.